And good afternoon. It is high noon Pacific time as well as Mountain time. I want to welcome you to ALPOUGH. This is the 122nd installment of my show since April the 1st. I want to welcome you here, and I hope you're having a great day. Hope your holiday was great. And let's get started on where we need to go here. Today, I want to talk about something that's a really important subject. And today's topic is trauma from your mama. And yes, it's a play on the words, but one of the things here I really want to address today is the trauma from women, that women have been traumatized at one time in their lives. It comes down to when I talk about trauma, we all have some type of trauma, but I really wanted to address my subject is really about women today. And I have in my life, of course, I'm married to a fantastic lady. And I have a lot of fantastic lady friends that I've known over the years. And one of the things that I've noticed with all my friends, and I'm not going to say this is just about attractive women, but I'm just saying women in general, all been traumatized in some way. Now, I come from a generation where, back in the 50s, when I was born in the 50s, divorce was totally different than it is now. A man could just leave a woman and leave her with the children by herself, doesn't have to pay alimony, doesn't have to do anything. So when, throughout centuries, through thousands of years, okay, it even goes back to Eve. All right. So the mark was placed on women, traumatized immediately for having the actual blame of sin coming into the world, which I do not agree with at all. Okay. We are all responsible for each one of ourselves. So I'm not going to say I'm going to agree with that, but I will agree that trauma was started all the way back in the Garden of Eden. Okay. And it's been that way. And as you can see it, women now can still be stoned for letting their face show in some countries. Women cannot, if they commit adultery, can be stoned. We look at our own country and we see the trauma that's going through right now with women. All right. So now, again, I've talked to a lot of ladies. I mean, a lot. I've known lots of ladies. I also am a lot of friends with women on Facebook. I read a lot of posts, and I see that women are more and more now talking about their trauma and also seeing the effects of the trauma that they have been going through. And mostly of it has been, of course, by men. All right. And so now, when I say trauma from your mama is the fact that it's a generational thing that has been passed down and down and down. So I was talking to a friend of mine, a great lady, and part of the becoming traumatized and continuing it on is by seeing your mother being traumatized by certain events, or husband, a job, okay, just generally speaking in a marriage. All right. Also, it could come on where, I know that it starts as simple as you're just a girl. You're just a girl. Women have had to fight for their rights for a long time. Fortunately, things are getting better, but at the same time, there is an underlying current that is going on in the trauma. My friend admitted to me some things that she had never said before. Hidden shame things of trauma. And so what ends up happening with all these beautiful ladies, and I mean in and out, is these kind of things that happen in abusive situations is they stuff it down. They keep it secret. They don't want to let people know that they allowed themselves to be traumatized. Now, we go all the way back here. Like I said, I went to Eve, but also now you know I'm about Sophia, the Holy Spirit, who is a woman. And so if you look and you see it, it's been going on for a long time. The name Sophia has been hidden in history books. And because a woman has not been acknowledged in the Trinity, women feel less, guys. It means they don't even count for anything. So now, this is not what I'm about. I'm about lifting women up. This is what I'm about. I'm about lifting. This is why I'm here. It's part of this whole thing. Now, I'm here to lift men up too. But I know that women have been damaged much more. Okay, so let's start. Trauma. What does trauma mean? A deeply distressing or disturbing experience. Could be a physical injury, but most of the time, it's mental and emotional trauma. And we talked about CPTSD, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Now, I said for all of us, we have some of this. Every last one of us have it. But women have had it more. Why? They say, well, because of the weaker sex. Okay. What would this world be like if men and women were the exact same size? Would you think it'd still be like this? If men and women were the exact same size, would we have this? I doubt it. But because of the physical dominance of men in this world, men have taken advantage of it. And so for all of us as men, you know, it is time that we figure out how to lift women out of this trauma. Now, I'm always about what? Spiritual. So what this has caused is a spiritual injury in the heart of almost every woman. Now, some women have been very fortunate and lucky enough that they didn't have to go through this. But I'm saying to you that that is not the norm. I feel that women have been traumatized. And it's in your spirit. And that's why I'm here to lift your spirit up, to let you know that it's not your fault. That can start mainly it mainly results from a single distressing event, such as an accident, a rape, assault, or some type of natural disaster. Okay. And so when I was talking to my friend, it was like many, but it always starts with the one. And the one thing that she says, it was when she saw her mother being traumatized emotionally, mentally, and also at times turned into physical. Okay. I've experienced this too with my own mother. But again, we're not talking about me. We're not talking about men. We're talking about women. Okay. So this is about you, ladies. This is about you. All right. So what I want to say to you is that you're spiritually damaged. There is a tear in your spirit. Now, listen, this is metaphorically when I say a tear. You see, your spirit is like a muscle and you have to exercise it. Exercise it. Just like you exercise your body, you want to exercise your spirit. And part of that is acknowledging it. Okay? So we have acute trauma, and it happens when a person is exposed to multiple long-term and prolonged distressing traumatic events over an extended period. Chronic trauma, where was that? Oh, I want to go to chronic trauma. I'm sorry. Chronic trauma. But acute trauma is the definition I have. Sorry, I have my banners here mixed up. So we're going to go to chronic trauma. See, we talked about It happens once, it happens twice. It can stick with you. But again, usually you don't recognize it and it turns into chronic trauma. And it happens when a person is exposed to multiple long-term and or prolonged distressing traumatic events over an extended period. Chronic trauma may result from a long-term serious illness, sexual abuse, domestic violence, bullying, and exposure to extreme situations. Several events of acute trauma, as well as untreated acute trauma, may turn into chronic trauma. Okay, so here's what we want to do here. See, I go back to mother. Love. We must become an adult spirit. It is time to let go of the trauma. Now, how do you let it go? Well, one of the things is not getting into a relationship that traumatizes you. Now, for all of us, what's the old saying? Slap the cheek and turn the other cheek. I don't do that. Okay. Usually if somebody hits me, I'm backing off. And so this is about protecting yourself. It's about getting back your self-respect. It's about not repeating relationships that cause you trauma. I would suggest that you always, when you meet someone, you tell them you're on a spiritual path. And that your path is about finding the correct way to love yourself and attract people who love you and respect you. You see, you must be more communicative. Communication is the key. I believe in over communication. You must over communicate. And also, if you're already stuck in one, it's totally different how to get out of it. So I want you to know that I cannot give you every single answer about this because I don't know your specific trauma, but I do know you want to avoid traumatic situations, okay? And so one of my suggestions is to, as mother always says, first, be an adult of your mind, adult of your thought, knowing what you think about, and that you become an adult of your spirit. These are things that I say over and over again. There's ways to get out of this, okay? Now, when you have children, it's a whole nother thing. But again, do you want to pass your trauma onto your children by letting them watch you be traumatized every day? So sometimes things are going to have to turn into some type of a radical. You see, because everything's complex. I've talked about CPTSD, complex traumatic stress disorder, complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay. These are the things that we have to look at ourselves as complex. Respect yourself by knowing you're complex. This may take some complex ways to get out of this. Ladies, sometimes it's better to be by yourself. This is where I tell my lady friends, if you keep repeating trauma situations, then you need to be by yourself. It's important that you take some time to identify your trauma, because it will come to you in many ways. You'll repeat it. You'll circle back. You'll continue to attract the same relationships until you take a pause and decide, not choose, decide, I want better for myself. I'm complex. I have to deal with this. Now, some need to go see a counselor. Sometimes a friend is just not going to help. But again, know thyself. Know thyself. Know thy spirit, that you are special, that you are the creator. You create life. This is what makes you so special. You also have this ability to love like not like men. It's innate in women, in a woman. That's why I always treat women. Open the door, say hello, make a woman feel comfortable. See, gentlemen, it's our job to lift the woman back because of the traumatization. Look at the way this new world design is. What is it splitting up? It's taking away love. Do you hear anyone in all the political situations? Do you see anyone talking about how to love each other more? It's more how to divide us more. We can't let that happen. I'm calling all ladies. I'm lifting you up. I'm lifting you up in mother's love. If they took it away from her, of course they're going to take it away from you because you're her image. Know that you, the image, the Holy Spirit, the Creator. You see, what has happened? Your value has been fooled. You see, it's time for you to raise your value. Any woman that I talk to is about continually tell them how valuable they are. Men, we got to do it too. But again, we're not talking about us today. We're talking about what the new man. You want to talk about the new man? The new man is to lift a woman up in the place where she belongs. You see, men are about power. Once they get the power, all they want is more power. It's time to empower the people who got us here. People would ask me, where you come from? This is before I even knew Sophia. I said, I came from my mother. That is the rational explanation. That my mother is the one who created me. So let's give her the respect that she deserves, guys. Let's take a moment and lift them up. We lift up all women, and they'll be blessed by the love of Sophia. Let's see, any comments? Time to be seen in this world. Sophia is the mother of us all. When you know your image is valid, that you are in the Trinity, and that all of us are equal. Equal. What would you have to say? Acknowledge the trauma happened. Changing the way you deal or accept it. Grow your spirit. You're an adult of your mind and heart. Now, if there's anybody who's been through trauma is my wife, who's been a 20-year military, 3 tours. I mean, the other night there's so many fireworks. There were so many fireworks. If you didn't know where you were and you could have thought you were in a battle zone with all the explosions. And if you're someone who's been through that, who, when they hear those pop, 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 people in the neighborhoods, they hear that pop, 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 boom. This causes trauma. One of the reasons why we don't do fireworks because we have animals. Animals, my little dear Izzy, where we had trauma, I had to go take her into a room, turn the fans on, turn the music on until she calmed down. So all of us are in different trauma. Okay, and it's a good move here. It's also breaking up the family even more. Now people don't even want to have kids because they cannot find the correct person. Thank you, Tracy, for all that. You see, and so what are we all doing? We're basically put in a place of hiding. Let's not hide. Let's not hide anymore. Let's acknowledge we've all been through trauma, but let's really acknowledge that our women have been through much more. So I want to thank you for this time. These are hard subjects to talk about, but I am devoted to listening to the Holy Spirit to bring out what needs to be said. It's okay to face it. We got to face it. That's an expression, ladies. Face it. Okay? Face it head on. Say it. I'm not going to face it head on so that you can deal with it and it doesn't happen again. Because if you don't deal with it, ladies, it will repeat itself. I love you. I love you all. I want everyone to have that love. Bless your heart. Bless your spirit. And I'll see you tomorrow. Same high noon time. Thank you so much. Oh, my wife says blessings to all too. We're in this together. Thank you.